Good evening, all. I'm hoping you can all hear me. You might have to unmute just to give me a little nod that we are okay on audio.
Hello.
Hello, Tamsin.
Hello.
Welcome, Joan. Welcome, Sue. I hope you all, by the way, some people use their partner's iPad, so if I've got your name wrong or using someone else's connection device, then I apologise. We're just waiting for a few others to join, and then what we'll do is we'll kick start off. Give us another few minutes or so. Just time for a cup of tea.
Okay.
Great, got a few more popping in. Hello, Epochers. Hello, Helen. Good evening, Emma. Good evening, Carol.
Hi there.
Hi. Right, welcome. Just one more that's trying to enter. Just give it one more minute and then we'll start. Great. Great. Okay, right, I think we are all here. So, good evening, everyone. Good evening. For those that know me, my name is Dr. John Hutchison, and I am a chiropractor at Epoch Chiropractic. We run monthly talks, and it's my privilege to deliver you basically osteoarthritis this evening. The Epoch ethos, try saying that after a few drinks, really is to inspire, inform, and educate not only our patients, but actually the Lincoln community. Dr. Tom and Dr. Sarah, the clinic owners, are very inspirational in trying to educate as much as possible, whether it comes from injury place, whether it comes from basically how we can be better about our health in general. So I'm just going to admit some more people in. We are recording this session tonight just in case those who are unable to come along, we can send it out to them as well. I've got one house rule, and that is I really like my conversations to be interactive, so I may ask some questions. Don't worry, I'm not going to pick anyone out, but I really would like the group if they can participate as and when, even in the chat room. We've got the chat open if you want to volunteer any thoughts. We'll pretty much leave questions to the end, and then we can go through any little bits, and if anyone wants to stay afterwards as well, when people have left, or to message me later on about anything specific, they are very welcome to. Well, one house rule really is that you respect everyone's comments. We're here to support one another, and if everyone can just do that, that would be very helpful towards me. So I really want you to come away with tonight, ideally, with something new that you don't know about osteoarthritis. The second thing is potentially something you actually do know, but you're not doing anything about it. And what I mean by that is whether you suffer with osteoarthritis, whether you know loved ones, or whether you're a practitioner with it, we've all gathered little bits of knowledge over the time. We really want you to act upon it, because that's the whole point, right? If your knowledge is that you can support someone or share that with them, please do. You may have known this for years, but the more we speak to people and the more we educate them, the better we can live our lives. So I really encourage you to try and pick something new, and maybe something old that you're aware of, but you've never actually applied it or informed people about. So what really we're going to cover tonight is we're going to cover what osteoarthritis is. We'll look at some statistics on OA. Don't worry, not going to go too deep in stats, but some really beneficial information. What causes osteoarthritis? And really the key is, like, what can we do about it? Mark Twain said that the secret of getting ahead is getting started. So is everyone ready? Can I have everyone off mute and give me a yes? Yes, Dr. John. People
Yes,
trying to
Dr.
unmute.
John.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. I want some high energy tonight. I know it's a little bit later.
Yes.
Yes. Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Good. Okay, so really, let's have your comments. What is osteoarthritis? There's three sort of key words I'm looking for. I'd love to have your input on what you think those three words are.
Inflammation of joints.
Inflammation of joint. Brilliant.
That's my husband Wayne, by the way.
Yeah. Tasman, you've got a deep voice. It looks brilliant. Yeah, inflammation of joints. Fantastic. Any others?
Wearing out of joints.
Yeah, brilliant. We've got everyone involved now. Yeah, so the wearing of a joint I heard there. And there was another one.
Wearing and tear of the bones.
Wear and tear of the bones. Fantastic. Any others? Great. Yeah, and that pretty much.
Autoimmune.
Sorry, what was that, Carol?
Is it autoimmune?
So
Is it part of the immunity system?
Yes. So this is the key distinction, actually. Osteoarthritis isn't a part of the immune system attacking. Rheumatoid arthritis is. And there is like a bracket of things called arthritides, and that's whether you've got rheumatoid arthritis, even gout, if you know about gout, comes in arthritis. We may touch upon rheumatoid tonight a little bit, but the key thing is to look at osteoarthritis. This is the actual body itself just wearing. I'll go back to those three comments as well prior to that. Synovial fluid, basically the inflammation in the joint. Now, my children have been trying to pop these today because I thought they did a very good visual. So you may notice, this is Dave, by the way, everyone. He's missing a leg. I do have the leg here with me. So this is a hip joint. Let's just sit on Dave on this side here. Now we can look at the hip. Now the synovial fluid is basically a protection. Now hopefully you can just about see the bone through that. But every single joint in our body has what is a balloon around it. And that balloon contains this synovial fluid. Synovial fluid actually feeds the joint. One thing it does feed is cartilage. So it wraps around the joint either side, and it actually basically protects it. So when you have effectively inflammation in that joint, the body will put more water or more fluid inside, and it'll expand. So it means that it's trying to protect the joint as you walk on it, if that makes sense. Cartilage is the other one. Now, again, I wasn't very good running to my kids' room. I'm pulling out water bombs out their drawers, and I was pulling Play-Doh out. So I've got a little bit of Play-Doh here. Cartilage, for those who don't eat meat, cartilage looks a little bit like this. So here is the hip joint once again, and cartilage just sits over the joint. And what that does is, if anyone's eaten a chicken bone, you'll find that there's a little bit at the end of that chicken bone, and it's really transparent white. It's almost milky. It's a bit rubbery if you touch it. And what it is, it's like a hyaline lubrication. It means that when a joint and a joint come together, it can glide. It's so smooth. It's a little bit like skating on an ice rink, let's say. That membrane effectively around here allows it to cushion and roll easily when we walk. So it's like putting WD-40 against it, basically. And then the last one is bone. So really, really simple. Osteoarthritis is a degeneration of either the synovial fluid, that sac of fluid. It is the degeneration of, or the reduction of cartilage, and or bone. So when the bone starts to wear. So really, really cool. If that cartilage over there was to wear, you find that what you do is, if it's overused, and instead of having a smooth process, what happens is you develop these little holes effectively on the cartilage. And if you think about that, that's bone on bone. So when that's rubbing, very, very painful. And I'll go on to symptoms in a second, but you can understand if there's a tear with it and that's supposed to be nice and smooth, it's really going to hurt a bit of bone on bone. And it's actually one of the key symptoms you get when someone says, I was okay actually, and then it was a quite sharp pain. I was a bit sore for a few days and it kind of went away again. And that sometimes can be the early onset of where that cartilage is actually gone or wearing, and you get that sharpness. Great, really good comments so far. Well done. Now, I want some more from yourselves. What are the most common joints? Can anyone gather what the most common joints are in the body?
Hips.
Hips. I'll give you a gold star for that one. Yeah.
Shoulders.
Shoulders, yeah, definitely.
Knees.
Knees, yes. I think if we want family fortunes, that would be the buzzword for me. Knees, yeah, amazing. Now, we just spoke about the wearing of joints, and if you think about it, the most common joints are the ones that we wear or use the most, right? So really, in industrial work, effectively, you sit in manufacturing lines, you can do lots of repetitive movements. Now, over time, you're programming that body to be a certain way, so you're using the joint in a certain way. Same with like tennis players, squash players for years and years. But knees are the most common, right? We use them, oh, I hope we use them. You should use them every single day. And it's one of the ones that can come out of alignment so easily as well. Here's some cool little stats for you. So for every pound that you weigh, you apply 3 pounds of pressure to the knee when you walk. Now, I'm a bit of a geek, so I did some numbers on this. Imagine losing 10 pounds. So that's 30 pounds of pressure off of your knee.
I see jobs that I want to do, but I also see.
And then I looked at, when I was doing this, I looked at roughly what was the average steps per day that we do. And in the UK, it was about 6,000.
To look at the garden, something that is the basic.
Sorry, whoever's there, would you mind just muting?
It's exciting, really exciting.
I'm going to mute
I think it's Sue that needs. Oh, she's new.
Done. Thank you. So yeah, sorry, just go through that again. So for every pound that you weigh, you put 3 pounds of pressure on the knee when you walk. If you lose 10 pounds, that's 30 pounds of pressure off the knee. Roughly in the UK, our average recorded steps are about 6,000. So 6,000 times 30, that's 180,000 pounds of pressure per day. I know that sounds, with numbers, sometimes when you get so high with numbers, they just lose their meaning. I did look at a very good website, What Stuff Weighs, and it was trying to give me some way of conveying it. And it basically said that the spaceship Endeavour, if that helps anyone's reference, is roughly about 180,000 pounds in weight. But isn't it really, really interesting? So again, as a chiropractor in clinic, I get told a lot of the times that when people go and see their GPs or health visitors, they get told that they're overweight and they must lose weight. And a lot of people feel quite offended by it. But in reality, if they can lose just a pound, they're taking 3 pounds off those knees. And then if you add up the amount of steps you do per day, you can think about all the relative pressures and how much that joint can actually be saved or prevented from getting worse just from a little bit of weight loss. So I know if everyone's ever heard that at all, just lose some weight, being offended by it. The meaning behind it is well, but no one actually tells you the meaning behind it. They just tell you to lose weight. I've also got some lovely statistics on the NICE guidelines. So the NICE guidelines is our national institute in the UK about care pathologies of certain things, whether it's osteoarthritis, whether it's rheumatoid arthritis. It said on there that 8.5 million people in the UK suffer with osteoarthritis. And roughly, there's about 68 million. I looked this morning, there's about 68 million in the UK. So it's like 40% of people in the UK, which is a huge number. In 2016, I never know how they work these out, but apparently 30.8 million hours of lost work days. 30.8 million in a year. You think of how more productive we would be if we weren't off work. That's crazy, right? It actually costs our economy about 10.2 billion pounds, and they believe it's one of the fastest growing as well. And they think by 2028 it will be 118 billion pounds cost to our economy. So think about today, it's 10.2. We are 2022 now. So in 6 years, that figure is going to add a zero on the end. 118 billion. It's madness, absolute madness. I always find it crazy thinking that of all the people that I see with arthritis, and if we were more educated about what to do about it, how we could prevent basically more time off work. Okay, so back to you guys for a little bit of input, making sure you're awake still after those statistics. What causes joints to degenerate? What do you think the most sort of common causes are that causes that wear or that pressure on that synovial fluid or that joint?
Weight.
Weight, yes. Another point. I like that. Good one.
Repetitive use.
repetitive use is a key one. Great. Any others?
Excessive wear and tear. Like
Excessive.
me gardening. That's my mum.
Yeah, okay. The things we love, right? And it's just the repetitive of it. Yeah, yeah, amazing. Was there another one there as well?
No.
No. Okay, great. So we're going to break some of those down into a bit more. So injury. Let's actually say we're involved in a skiing accident, or let's say we tripped over and fell down. It just fell down. Now that injury itself, you could have torn a muscle. I think your body is just full of levers. So tearing a muscle on one side means the other side's got to work harder. And we always talk about these joints. If I get Dave's leg back, look at his knee this time. This knee joint, if I turn to the side here, does this, okay? Backwards and forwards. It's a hinge joint. Now, if I've torn a muscle on one side, does it work like a hinge? No. You're going to find that you're going to have a little bit going to the side. And as you're recovering, if you think about it as well, if anyone's ever injured any part of their leg, they take the weight off, don't they? So they have a little lean and they hobble. You think about how much extra pressure you're putting on the other side. Now, we generally hope that the alignment comes back, but what you can do is you can start creating a little bit of a habit, especially with people that suffer with an injury for a long, long period of time, that you start leaning and you start actually changing the structure, not only within the knees, but the hips. And then before you know it, the lower back's going with it as well. So that injury, any type of injury, is really, really important to at least get reviewed, seen to, and ensure that you actually get down the right care path for it. Overuse as well got mentioned. Amazing. Again, if you're using something in a repetitive manner, like us all, we always adopt to our environments, no matter what our body's doing. So people who are sitting at desks in particular as well, with a slight hunch, over time, structure in your back will degenerate, and you'll actually find the joints in your back slowly shift out of position as well. And again, what that does as well is that your joints are designed at very specific angles. If you start using them in a different manner, you're going to start wearing and putting that pressure through the joint structure. So misalignment is coming a key thing here over the injury and overuse element at all. Because if you're not in alignment, you're going to be using joints in a different manner. Disease is another one. I don't know if anyone thought about diseases as well. There's quite a lot of inflammatory diseases we have. And so rheumatoid arthritis was mentioned earlier. That's when the body's immune system attacks joints. It's not so nice. You've also got gout. Gout is one where they call it the rich man's disease, because it was traditionally with people who were very wealthy and they drank lots of port or alcohol and they ate lots of meats, and that builds up a certain protein in the body and the body can't get rid of. So what it does is it crystallizes in certain joints. So if you've ever seen stalagmites and stalactites in caves, well, basically something like that happens within the joint space. They become very painful, very inflamed. So those are potential diseases as well that can cause that. Exercise, really good one. Exercise is amazing, but you can over-exercise. And it's the same as under-exercising. If you under-exercise, you become very stiff. Now then it's like getting up. You think about when you get up. I've got three boys, so I'm continually having a seat, and then I'm up seconds later trying to catch something before it breaks. But I'm always on my feet. If we are static in our daily activities and then we demand lots of energy from that joint or that muscle, that's really, really common for pulling, straining, and any sort of sharp tugs within that joint space as well. So yeah, you said about obesity, which is really, really good. Diet is a big factor. Like our diets are massively inflammatory in the UK. I'll go into a bit of detail on that in a moment, because they're the bits that I really want us to look at to potentially support. Now, no one mentioned it. I got a good red herring. I was hoping someone was going to mention. Has anyone ever heard of?
I was going to ask John whether that was the case.
What was that?
I was going to ask if diet and sedentary was two of the possible causes, but you sort of crossed over with that anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll take away why in just a moment. The red herring I was hoping someone was going to put into tonight was family history. Has anyone ever heard of that? That, my mum's got it, or my auntie's got it, so I've probably got it as well. The truth is, there's no research at all to back that up. The common thing about it is when people say, my father's got it, mother's got it, grand's got it, etc. It's generally because we adopt their habits. So if it is a dietary thing, if it is we're prone to lots of inflammation, whether it is a disease that we've caught, it's that that's really causing it. But in regards to family history, there's actually no genes at all that's been proven to cause it. So that's my little red herring tonight, because I hear that quite a lot, that family members have it as well, so I must have it. Great, so we're going to pick out 3 of these things, and these are your like take homes. I really, really want to, you're all on the call for a reason. Whatever that reason is, these 3 things has to be something you change. Again, we try and educate people as much as possible. And now with this becomes great power, great responsibility, right? Spider-Man's once said, you've got to do something about it, because having this information is great, but if you don't apply it, then you're going to do what you've always done. You'll always get what you've always got. It's one of my favorite sayings. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. So go away and after this and pick something out, just one thing, and see if you can change it within your in your world, as it were. Inflammation then. So we're going to talk about inflammation. The body produces inflammation to protect joints. So we spoke about synovial fluid in that sac earlier. The body will pour more into this sac to allow it to become cushiony and soft if that is injured. So if your cartilage effectively has got holes in it, you're going to find that you're going to be quite inflamed a lot of the time. And that sac is going to be trying to protect it as much as possible. Now, inflammation in the body can happen in three really big things. Call them the 3 T's: thoughts, toxins, and traumas. Okay, so thoughts, toxins, and traumas. Thoughts is a key one, because right now, given the media situation, I'd say probably the media situation the last 3 or 4 years actually, our thoughts are driven by all of our surroundings. So when we are stressed, we cause an inflammatory response within our body. So the inflammatory response releases lots of different hormones. One of the key ones is called cortisol. Cortisol is unbelievable. It is an amazing hormone. So what it does is it does things like suppresses your digestive tract. It heightens your responses. If everyone has ever been stressed before, you know how you said, I'm just not really hungry today, because that cortisol is dripping. It's putting you into this fight or flight mode. So it means it raises your blood pressure, one of the key ones as well that we see. Now, back in the evolutionary theory is that cortisol will be there so we can either run away from our predator or attack it and get some dinner. We used to burn up that energy, so your body would burn the cortisol up whether you're attacking or running away. Today, and today's society, we don't tend to do that. We all know we should do a little bit more exercise, but unfortunately that cortisol drips from the morning we wake up, when we put the news on, from the stressful work we have at the moment, again, listening to the media and all the bad things that are happening out there. Maybe it's our parents aren't well. There's so many elements now in life where we see those stress factors. The sad thing for me is that I still consider myself quite young, and I'm seeing people half my age coming through the door where they're on medication for dealing with stress. It is just around us. It's more prevalent than ever, and it's one of the biggest things that causes inflammation in our bodies. Now, we also spoke, that was the thoughts. Toxins. Toxins are everything around us that we take into the body. So whether this is something like pollution in the air, whether this is we smoke, whether we drink too much alcohol or drink alcohol, should I say, whether you eat inflammatory foods. So inflammation can be anything from, we all get inflammation from wheat regardless, just some are more prone to it than others. Low levels of inflammation, if you're in a flare and the body is trying to protect that joint, if you eat wheat, you will increase the probability of inflammation in the whole structure, especially if you've got rheumatoid arthritis. Now, I urge everyone to potentially do a nutritional test. You can get them online, they're pretty cheap, but they give you just an overall aspect of actually the things that you're most triggered to. They can get very, very complicated, but I urge everyone to at least review their diet and just look at a plant-based diet or a Mediterranean diet. I say that because we have too much sugar in the UK. That is one of the biggest things we have. And they're making things even sweeter as well through manufacturing because of our craving for it. There's a study that was done about 7 or 8 years ago with rats in a lab where unfortunately they got them addicted to cocaine. And then what they did is they introduced a pile of sugar. And every single day one more rat would take more sugar until they left all of the cocaine there. And it was one of those studies that, even though it's a little bit cruel, I found completely interesting to say that sugar's more addictive than cocaine. Isn't that amazing? And we put it in teas, coffees, we have it in cakes, breads, like it's in baked beans, it's in tomato sauces, all of these things. And if you think about, even for breakfast, toast for breakfast, sandwich for lunch, and then we may get in and have a little, I know some people have a little toast before bed as well. All of this causes so much inflammation in the body. And it won't help your dietary, your digestive tract much, let alone if you've got flaring within a joint. So yeah, I urge you all to at least try and look at Mediterranean diets, because the plant-based foods work so much better for us on so many levels, more than I could ever convey in this period of time. And then the last one really on there is the traumas. So the traumas can be, we mentioned a little bit earlier, from an accident or an injury, whether it's a car, whether it's a fall or a stumble, to things like us having very sedentary lives. If you grab 2 seconds, I'll grab a spine. So our spines are designed to have certain curves in it. If I bring this a little bit closer to the camera, you'll see those little discs. Now, the discs basically are along the joint line. If you see them, they've all got different angles on. Now, so for those of us that have static lives and sit at desks, you put pressure on those joints. And then what we do is we change the angles of those joints by compressing them. So whether we're sitting slouched or whether we're leaning backwards on our chairs, we're changing those 3 curves. And what I see really, really common in clinic is a lot of people don't move. I was an engineer before I became a chiropractor, and the team around me would all say, "Oh, John, do you want a coffee?" I was like, "Yep, great." "John, do you want a water?" "Yep, great." And by the end of the day, maybe 6-7 hours later, I haven't moved all day, maybe to the toilet once, but other than that, I didn't. Now, over a period of time, your body will adapt, and what it will do is it will change your joint structure. So it means when you stand, actually, you're leaning over. Over time, that puts more stress on your joints. It causes a lot of trauma on there. So trauma is not always something that's an impact. It can be something that's done for a period of time. A really common one, as I see, is when people are driving, they lean, or on the sofa. And I'm a culprit for that as well. How often do we sit on the sofa curled up or leaning to one side? And you may think, well, yeah, I do that. You add in 3 or 4 years of doing that, I promise you, your spine will adapt and change, and you won't be using it as well as you could be using it. So being in alignment is one of the things you can do for trauma, and whether that's through a chiropractor, an osteopath, that you have sports massages, everything that is preventative is going to help those joints, if that makes sense. If you're out of alignment and you can bring that alignment back in, you're going to have less wear on those joints. If you're having rehab because you've torn a muscle in particular and it's not as strong, then you're going to balance that muscle structure out to allow it to glide and move better. So I hope all of that makes sense. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open it up to you all. If there's any specific questions you wanted to go through, or is there anything in what I've said tonight that you didn't understand and want me to go over or clarify? So please feel free to ask any questions that you've got.
All my bones are the same age, I think. So why would some get arthritis?